Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Action Podcast. I am Nick APD, and this evening I am joined by the fabulous, the one, the only Monkeyboys Toys. Dave, that's
Hello.
your actual name. How are you, mate? How you doing?
I'm not too bad, thanks, man. I'm doing okay. I'm sitting here in my pants,
I
and
know you
yeah,
are,
it's all
and I've
good.
warned you not to aim the camera down. See, what people don't know is I had the full experience of what underwear he's wearing this evening. So
Did you notice what they
that,
were, though?
do you know what, man? I wasn't fixated on it. I just wasn't.
Ninja Turtles.
Oh, right. Yeah. I, I couldn't. Anyway,
Anyway,
let's uh, let's move on from that.
yep.
I can see there's some people in the chat this evening. So this is a big hello to everyone in the chat. So hello
Hello,
everyone in the
everyone.
chat. It's great to see you this evening. And as the show goes on, I will bring up any comments from people regarding the film. So we will get into your comments throughout. Monkey Boy, are you ready for this evening's subject?
I am. I am fully
Do,
ready. I couldn't be more ready, in fact.
do you want to let people know what we are discussing this evening?
So this evening we will be talking about Boy in the Striped Pajamas, I believe.
No, no,
What?
no, we won't. The Lost
Well,
Boys.
what?
The Lost Boys. 1987, The Lost Boys.
No, 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 no. It's Boy in the Striped Pajamas tonight, isn't it?
No, do you know The Lost Boys?
Oh, you idiot, Nick. I just spent all afternoon watching The Boy in Striped Pajamas. I've taken notes and everything. I didn't enjoy it at all.
Why would you enjoy it? Why would you
Did
even
you?
think that was a film we would cover here?
I can't believe you've done this to me, man. You've done that deliberately, haven't you?
Anyway, you know The Lost Boys, right?
Yeah, I've seen that, luckily.
Yeah, and I know you know loads about it, so you're just
Well,
going to have to absolutely roll with it, mate, unfortunately.
Christ, I can't believe I've watched that. I hated every
Anyway,
moment of it. Right, okay, go on. Go on.
so
Lost Boys it is.
The Lost Boys. So, would you like to give a brief description of what The Lost Boys is, or do I need to do that through fear of you doing the boy in the striped pajamas?
You can do it if you like. Did you hear my alarm go off just a moment ago?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
So,
okay. If you hear an alarming noise, it's my blood glucose alarm. I can't turn it off, I'm afraid.
that's fine, man. We need to keep you alive. I mean, you can come
Yes.
having watched the wrong film, but what we can't have is you like collapsing on camera.
No, no, no,
That
no.
kind of ruins the vibe of the show. And this is a Halloween special, of course, but we don't need you. We don't need you dying on cam. So I mean,
So
it
tell
might
us
get some.
about tell us about the Lost Boys, Nick. What's that all about?
Okay, so I'm going to read you the thing that I wrote down before this because I thought that you might come here and pull hijinks on me. So let's go. When brothers Michael and Sam Emerson move to Santa Carla, they discover the town is crawling with vampires. Michael gets drawn into a gang of undead bikers led by the charismatic David, or Jack Bauer, as I like to call him, while Sam teams up with the comic book loving Frog Brothers to fight back. As Michael begins turning, they race to destroy the vampires and save Michael and the town. That's,
Well, there you go.
I think that's a pretty up together description of what the film's about. So it was directed by Joel Schumacher, and we're going to go a little bit more into that as we go. But as always, I've got questions for you. So, when did you first see The Lost Boys, dude?
I believe I saw it probably maybe about a year or so after it came out. I don't actually remember. I think I watched it with a friend of mine who rented it, or whose father rented it for us from the video shop. Um, so I guess that was in about 88 ish, somewhere around then. And I think that was, well, there weren't that many vampire films about at the time as such. I mean, I hadn't seen Salem's Lot, the TV miniseries. I'd obviously seen the sort of Hammer Dracula a couple of times, but that was really my only exposure to vampires in movies was old Christopher Lee there. So this was quite a departure from that. And yeah, I remember being, very very excited by the film. Yeah, it was cool. Loved it.
I I absolutely love the Lost Boy. I'm seeing a comment there from Lewis reading movies. He says, I was late to the Lost Boys party. I think I was in my 20s. And I was the same, man. I was the same. I think I would, well, maybe not quite my 20s, maybe 18, 19. I first saw the Lost Boys because I went on a real vampire kick because a friend of mine got me into From Dusk Till Dawn, and then I suddenly wanted to watch every vampire movie going, and Lost Boys was one that was massively recommended to me, and I watched it, and I loved it. It was a great film.
Yeah, I mean, I must say, I'm glad I saw it when I was younger and when it was still, a fairly new film, because I think if I'd have been a few years older, perhaps it wouldn't have been quite as. I mean, it wasn't. It's not a scary film, but I don't think it would have had quite the same level of excitement if, once I'd seen some of the other films in the 80s. I think it would have taken the edge off it. Um, and and certainly, I think it's one of those films that the younger you are, probably the more you enjoy it, because it kind of seems a bit subversive and a bit naughty, but yeah, no, it's good. What did you think of it when you first saw it?
Uh, I really enjoyed it. Just seeing Ben Stutley's comment here saying I watched it on Thursday with a frowny face. I don't think there's anything wrong with. I don't think you can ever come too late to the Lost Boys. I get what you're saying, dude, about you're glad you saw it when you were younger, but what did I think of it? I very much enjoyed it. I didn't. It was very 80 and campy, it wasn't quite on the more graphic tone of some of the vampire films I had watched after From Dusk Till Dawn, but
Uh,
I really enjoyed it, man. It was just one of those, as they say, a fun romp. It's a great film. It's not too serious. I mean, you can not for kids, but it's fun. That's what I thought of it. It was fun. It was enjoyable. It's what just over an hour and a half. I think it's an hour and 37 minutes long. I'll check that as I go through my notes in a bit, but it's an hour and a half that just flies by, and I like that in a film. When you can, when you can put a film on and it just sails by. There's no real slow moments. There's no bits where you think,
yeah,
oh, I'd like to skip this. For instance, it's like completely unrelated film, but as much as I love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles films, the original 1991, the scene when they're at the farm, I just want to skip it. It's boring, man. There's
yeah,
some
yeah,
films like that where when you've seen them a few times, like, have you got any films where you think, I just want to skip this bit because I love this film on the whole, but this is a bit boring, so I'd skip. This film doesn't do that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It does happen occasionally, doesn't it? But no, The Lost Boys, I think, is paced quite well. In fact, we'll probably get on to maybe a little bit later on, but I think there are parts of the film that probably go too quickly, and there's several moments where you have to sort of fill in the gaps.
Yeah,
Um,
there are, and we will get into that for sure. Certainly, some of Michael's turning scene. Just to jump to this, Emma Cease is such a classic 80s movies, has everything you need for a great movie. I would agree with that. And we had Vic Squires saying, hello, Vic. I was about 14 when I first watched it, so it would have been 1990-ish. So yeah, Vic, that's not long after. You think the film's 87. I was just a baby, man. I was born in 84, so there's no way in 1990 I would have been quite ready for this. Although I think I was about 6 when I watched Hellraiser, so
oh my
it
goodness.
didn't mess me up too much. But yeah, so this film, I'd already said, directed by Joel Schumacher. He's known for films such as St. Elmo's Fire, Flatliners, Batman Forever. Yeah, I think, didn't he do Batman and Robin as well?
Yeah, I think he did. I think he did Phone Booth as well.
He may well have done.
I think so. I could be wrong.
I believe he's actually issued an apology for the Batman films he did, or he did. I don't know. He's no longer with us, I believe. But I believe in his lifetime he did issue an apology for those movies. But they are what
Is he
they
dead?
are. I believe he is. Let me just double check that. Now you've just asked that question. I now have to absolutely go with that. I believe he's no longer with us. So I thought he had
Oh,
died. Let's do a search as we go. Yeah, he died 5th of July 2021, mate.
oh, brown bread. Did not know. Okay.
Let me just double check that actually. Let me just double check that. Let me double check that, my mate. No. That's Richard Donner, who was meant to be the original director. I'm not laughing at people having died, mate. Believe me. But yeah, I will get to that in a moment, whether he's passed. But yeah, so we've sort of got into that. So Joel Schumacher, he directed those films. As I've just said, I just read you out there. Richard Donner is the chap I said who had died at that time. I just jumbled my notes. He was meant to be the original director. Now, Monkeyboy, have you seen Lethal Weapon? I hope you have, because we've done a real impact.
Yeah. Of course, I've seen Lethal Weapon.
Yeah. Do you know the moment in Lethal Weapon that I am going to refer to?
No.
So there is a moment in Lethal Weapon where, as Riggs and Murtaugh walk out of they walk out of the cinema, there is a scene. There is a scene where they behind them on the cinema board it says The Lost Boys. This year's hit or top movie, whatever it is it says. But the reason for that was because Richard Donner was originally going to direct this and he came off of the project. So to cross promote, and it's both Warner Brothers movies, there was a little call out in Lethal Weapon to promote The Lost Boys because they were in production around the same time. And to answer my earlier question from my fumble, Joel Schumacher has sadly passed away, and he passed away on June 22nd, 2020 at aged 80.
Oh.
So a year before Richard Donner. So apologies for getting my facts jumbled there, guys, but it does happen on the fly. I normally put if people have passed away in the notes, but check me out for being all rubbish with my notes this evening. So anyway, written by Jeffrey Boehm.
Sorry, go on. I'm just going to fiddle with this because this alarm keeps going off and it's doing my Sweden.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, carry on.
No, it's all right. Just to say, for anyone who joined us a bit later, Monkeyboy has got an alarm on his phone for his blood sugar, and he has to pay attention to it. So if you see him leaning at the phone or you see anything going on, it's because he's checking that he's not going to collapse on us. So that's the big thing that we don't want to happen this evening. I think I already said it. Jeffrey Boehm, Janice Fisher, and James Germais, they were the writers of this movie. Boehm also wrote Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade from 1989 and Lethal Weapon 2 and 3. So those works he would have done. And the filming period for this film apparently only took around 21 days, dude. And it was filmed in June 1986. So it's quite quick from being filmed and getting out there to the cinema. Because the release date in the US was 31st of July 1987. And in the UK, we got it on October 23rd, 1987. Which I actually think in the UK, we kind of got it at a slightly better date. Given, I'm surprised. I mean, they've pushed this for the summer season of film. They pushed it for the summer season in the US, one can guess. But we would have had it out around Halloween time. Although I will say in the UK, bit off topic, but Halloween's got bigger over here, hasn't it, dude? In the last few years, when I was a kid, Halloween wasn't really a big thing, was it?
No, not so much. I mean, it was popular. It was popular, but not quite as widespread, I think. And I think now we've also possibly adopted the American approach a little bit in that sometimes people dress up as non-horror characters, whereas when I was a kid, it was all, ghosts and skeletons and witches and that sort of thing. And I was always quite puzzled that in America, they would dress as Spider-Man and Little Bo Peep and things like that, and it seemed a bit. I'm not quite sure why that happened. Why in the States they kind of anything was fair game. I would have thought it would
It
have been
did seem
spooky
that
stuff.
it was more of a. It did seem it was more of a catch-all for just an opportunity to cosplay whatever your favourite thing was, and I would agree
Yeah.
that in the UK that is becoming Halloween. I mean, when I was a teenager, Halloween was not a big thing. It was just starting to pick up. I mean, as a kid, you might have one of these really crappy plastic masks from Woolworths that were held on with a band of elastic, and
Yeah.
your mum and dad would let you carve a pumpkin. You'd have a bag of Haribo or something, maybe watch a Scooby-Doo scary movie. Well, not scary, but as a kid. And that was about it, really. That was about it. Whereas now, I mean, my wife, she's nuts on Halloween. She does a whole scene out the back of our house every year because of the way you access our house. She's been setting it up for over a month. My kid's obsessed with it. You just cannot get past Halloween in this country. It's really, really growing as a thing. So
Yeah.
there you go. Halloween is growing. Anyway, that was a long tangent there from me. I've already said that it's a Warner Brothers movie where they're the distributors, and the runtime was 97 minutes. So boom, dude, I got it, 1 hour and 37 minutes without checking my notes. I was on
well
it.
done.
I know, man. I know. What do you reckon of the budget? What do you reckon the budget was like for this movie, high or low, before I give you the figure?
I would think it was. I would think it would have been fairly high.
Right. So
There's a lot of
interesting.
production value in the sets and stuff. So
Okay, so researching this, and I will say, whenever I research any movie, I will IMDb it, I will Wikipedia it, I will read articles online, I will watch every blooming thing I can find on YouTube to educate myself. And as with this movie, as with every movie I've ever covered, there are always contradicting facts. One person says one thing, another person says a variation of it. So all I can ever do is put together the best of what I think is the most likely thing. And the reason I've said that is because the budget for this film was $8.5 million, which even in 1986, when they were filming this, that wasn't big. That wasn't a big budget. However, a couple of sources I've come across said that the budget was originally meant to be around $20 million.
okay.
But they slashed the budget because basically Joel Schumacher, he decided that he wanted to use lesser known actors in the film. So the studio got a little bit panicky and went, oh, well, if you're going to bring unknowns in, we're going to cut the budget, because they thought unknowns wouldn't push the film, if you see what I mean. Now, given that the movie took $32.5 million, I think that was its gross worldwide, and the budget was $8.5 million, was that a wise thing that they actually cut the budget? Or would bigger stars have drawn more to it? I guess we'll never know.
No.
But
Have you got any idea who they were sort of thinking of casting originally? Sort of who might have been involved?
do you know what? As I was watching it, a few names were said, and I didn't even write them down, so we'll just sail straight past that because,
All right.
like I say, contradictory reports from several videos and sources. So I was just giving you that little tidbit to say that is one of the things I came across. Now, on release, apparently the reception of the movie was quite mixed, but it has become a cult classic, as we know today.
Do you think it's a cult classic? I don't know if it.
Well,
I don't know
everyone
if it is
has
quite
listed it.
healthy enough.
There we go. Thank you for bringing it up. I think it's a classic 80s movie. Is it a cult classic? I wouldn't agree with that. But so there's something we're going to go into later in this when we come up the two Corys, and we're going to have a whole bit on this. I know we will. But it's like people go, oh, the two Corys. It was this huge thing. Not quite what you think it was. Not how it's advertised. Just like this. Look, nearly everything I've read is like the MTV era, the style of it, cult classic, the humor. I think that's overplayed. I think we're looking back at it with slightly rose-tinted. I think it's a great movie. Is it a cult classic? No, I would agree. So me saying that, it's just me reading my notes. Not that I'm backtracking, but I'm going with what most people said. People are referring to it as a cult classic everywhere, but it's interesting that you, like me, thinks that's a good movie. Is it a cult classic?
I think it's liked by slightly too many people to be a cult classic. I don't know. I mean, obviously there are cult classics that are liked by lots of people, but to me, it just doesn't feel like a a culty thing.
Would you say something like The Living Dead is a cult classic, whereas this is more of a it's more commercial, isn't it?
Well, it is
certainly
more commercial, and it just doesn't have that. I mean, I can't speak from experience of having seen it at the cinema or seen, um, showings of it in recent times. I mean, I imagine if it was shown in the theatres now, people would show up, I guess, here and there wearing, costumes or makeup and stuff similar to the characters, but I don't see everyone doing it. Not like sort of Rocky Horror, where 70-80% of the audience are wearing something to do with the film. I don't see it having that level of sort of fanaticism, really.
I'm going to jump into the comments here now. Joe's saying cult classic for sure. TJC's saying definitely cult classic in my mind. That's cool. We all got different opinions, but I'm sort of going with Monkeyboy here. I think this is a classic movie. I think it's a classic movie, but to say cult, what's your thing you will say about Grail and White Whale? How maybe terms get used for things that maybe don't. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah. I mean, I certainly wouldn't argue that it's a classic film, but again, it's degrees, isn't it? Because, Jaws is a classic film, but you wouldn't put them anywhere near each other.
Because Jaws was that was the last movie we did on Real Impact, and it was listed as it's not listed as, it is highly regarded. It is acknowledged as the first summer blockbuster, predating all your. It's the first, so it predates every other one. So yeah, me saying not a cult classic isn't me saying it's not this amazing film that is a classic and will be held in high regard in Hollywood history, but it's just me saying it's, when you look at these cult films, is it like you? Thank you for the example of Rocky Horror. As you know, I'm a huge Rocky Horror fan, a massive Rocky Horror fan. Whenever I go and watch that stage show, so I went to watch the 50th anniversary of Rocky Horror at the cinema the other month, right? And dude, there was no one in that cinema who was not dressed up. Do you know what I mean? We were all
this is what I mean.
Me and Carla, Mrs. APD, we didn't put as much effort in as we did when we went to see it live because we were at work, we were tired, but I still put my Eddie vest on. Carla still did a little bit. Everyone had made, and everyone in there was, every word to the film was being uttered. Every song was being sung to. People were standing up, dancing to it. It was its own little weird thing. Yeah, I will speak to people all the time. One example is Rob H in the chat, and great to see you here. He says, I can see a couple of cults on my TV screen right now. But Rob hasn't seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And lots of people I speak to, that's not to call Rob out, but lots of people I know have not seen Rocky Horror, which is where I say, so it's this massively famous thing, but I would say I could walk down the street and I don't even think it would be 50-50. I think less than 50% of people will have seen it. Do you see what I mean? Anyway, it's interesting there. Sai said, next year I'm going to cosplay as the saxophone guy. So that's definitely something that I'm not sure if I want to see it, but hey, no, I want to see it. Dude, do it. Send it into the show.
That's right. All you need is a cod piece, a thick chain, a saxophone, and a stick of butter.
Absolutely. So something I didn't bring up before. So here is, so on your left here, this is your classic poster, The Lost Boys, the one we know, right?
Yep.
And to the right, this is, I would say it's a more modern interpretation of the bridge hanging scene. No one hung themselves. They were hanging from the bridge, I must say. So there's your posters for it. I think the, that poster, I think it's fair to say, you can have a poster. Do you think it's fair to say it's an iconic poster now? I think it's very well known, that poster.
Yeah, I'd say so. I've got a canvas print of it upstairs. Yeah, I like it. It's good.
Well, on my hat here, you can't see, but that picture, the second picture with the guys hanging from the bridge, this is a Temu special, £3.25, mate. Trucker cap, The Lost Boys.
Although the UK or most of the UK VHS releases of the Lost Boys had an image on the front um, of David Kiefer Sutherland, sort of with his head bowed, looking up towards the camera.
Is that what yours has got? Because mine is this one here, the one
Well,
on the
you
left.
see that you see the shot of David just behind Jason Patrick there, right in the middle of the poster. That's basically a very similar pose to the one that was used on the home video release in the UK. So the cover that you're seeing there with the sort of red background with the characters in black and white, that wasn't actually used in the UK as a cover. I'm not sure about the promotional stuff, whether that was the same, but certainly the VHS didn't have that as the cover.
Oh, interesting. See, I never had the VHS. I had the DVD because I came to it quite late. I mean, that poster there, that design did inspire our thumbnail this evening, which I've just got to bring up. I'd always say for anyone listening to this on audio, when I finally get round to editing this version for audio, which is going to be a long time, so I'm still going through all the past episodes. If you want to see the pictures, if you want to see the slides, please come to the YouTube channel and check out the video and perhaps join us live and take part in the chat. You're more than welcome. So yeah, this was what to create that thumbnail, dude. I had to like crop a picture of your head off of a picture, mine, badly stick it onto the Lost Boys poster, and then have about 10 arguments with ChatGPT to get it where I wanted it.
Yeah.
I can't take credit for. I mean, that's ChatGPT's work there.
I don't know why it's giving you a shaved head though, because really you should have a kind of Billy Idol type hairstyle.
I should do, and really, Star's hair there, her head looks deformed if you actually look at it. I mean, one of the versions we had, literally, one of the Lost Boys in the background looked like Gordon Ramsay. No joke.
Yeah, that was funny.
So, but Cy was saying about being the saxophone player, and we'll get into the cast a bit later on. But yeah, Tim Capello is the guy there, bottom right hand side. That Cy wants to dress up for us next Halloween. So we can absolutely, if Cy does do that, I'll happily any future show bring that up, and I'll get back to this slide later on if I remember I've got slides, because I always forget them, to be honest. I rush around making slides. I've got to make slides for this show. And the amount of shows I've got to then going, you haven't even brought the slides up, Nick. The conversation's just obviously too good, too enthralling, mate. So,
well, I think Tim Capello really deserved his own slide.
And I will say it is great to see we've had more people join us in the live chat. So good to see you guys. Right.
Hello.
Let's carry. Hello. And we will read out comments as we go relating to the movie. Right, so let's have a look. So, are you aware of the background of how they came up the idea for this film, dude?
Yeah, bits and pieces, but possibly not that I could sort of run off the top of my head. No,
it's all good. To be honest with you, I've found out lots about this in the last couple of weeks because that's what I do. I have to research. So the movie The Lost Boys was apparently originally based on Peter Pan. The script was conceived as a family-friendly vampire movie that reimagined Peter Pan. But director Joel Schumacher changed the film to be a darker, sexier, more... not quite adult, but, older teen-themed movie.
Okay.
Richard Donner, the original director, who we spoke about earlier, he saw the movie as more of a Goonies meets vampires.
Right, yeah.
So that was his idea for it. My note here says early concept, juvenile vampires, adventure, 13 to 14-year-old vampires, Frog Brothers, Star, and originally Star's character was a boy because they were all going to be the Lost Boys. So they introduced the girl into it, and it then created a love interest for Michael because if they were younger, you wouldn't have had the Michael Star romance. coincidentally, because of that, Joel Schumacher taking over as director, Richard Donner was credited as an executive producer on the movie. But apparently Jeffrey Boone was the guy who scripted it to one of the writers. When he did the script, he made the characters older. Now, this raises something which I spoke to you about on the phone the other day. When you look at Sam, Michael's brother, I think there are still moments in this film where you can see that it was originally written and conceived to be for younger characters.
Yeah.
And it seems like when Sam's in the bath singing away. Now, dude, I know I've sent you a million videos of me in the bath. I know it sounds dodgy singing away, so I'm a fine one to judge. But the scenes when he's in the bath singing away with all the stuff in his hair. Mum, can I get into bed with you? Tucking him into bed. Go to bed now. Michael, can you look after your brother? He's 14, 15 years old, man. He don't need a babysitter. And he's not an immature 14 or 15-year-old. You know, they're quite happy for him to go out into Santa Carla in the day, but not be at home at night. So I think there is some sort of residual.
Yeah.
Did you spot any of that coming back to the film with more critical eyes? Watching it for this?
I mean, I think I always, perhaps not the first time I saw it, but I think, you know, subsequent viewings, I think I've kind of thought, yeah, it doesn't seem to quite fit some of the things he said. Like you said, asking his mum if he can sleep in her bed. I had to be careful how I phrased that then. And yeah, the look after your brother and all these sorts of things it just didn't seem to quite fit. And that bath scene, I think he was having too much fun in that bath. I don't get why he was so happy. It was like that was the first bath he'd ever had. It seemed like a real novelty to him, do you know? And I'm like, well, I don't know how you could be that excited about having a bath. I mean, how dirty do you think he was that day?
I don't know, but it is funny that when Michael says to him, "Go and take your bath," like ordering him to have a bath, like he's a, or like he's a child. I mean, I've got an 11-year-old and he's not that excited to have a bath. Do you know? So anyway,
Yeah.
So if you think, yeah, Sam would have been the age of the main cast, and Sam would have then been younger again, because he would have still been Michael's younger brother, which would have made sense.
Yeah,
as to some of the behaviours in the film.
But I also think that sort of change in where the ages of the characters were pitched, I think that also has a bit of an impact on the Michael character, because I don't know how old he's supposed to be in the film, but he comes across as someone who's in his sort of early 20s, and the dynamic between him and his mum, again, just seems a little bit off. You know, everything just seems staggered slightly off somehow with those. I mean, you know, I think that there's one scene where, I mean, obviously there's a couple of scenes where the mum is telling off Michael, and there's a scene when he comes home and she's sort of saying, "Oh, you know, are we friends? Oh, you know, take your glasses off. Are we still friends?" And all the, you know, it just seems that not quite. It doesn't sit quite well. And I suppose, knowing that originally the characters were meant to be, you know, 3, 4, possibly more years younger than that. It makes sense. Knowing that, you can definitely see it when you watch the film. And I don't think that helps the film to land quite well enough, particularly these days. I mean, we didn't notice it when we were kids, but I think watching it now, I think people would say there's something not quite right about this.
We have come at this ourselves with more critical eyes to do this show, and we have the luxury today of films coming out so quickly onto Sky or DVD, or not DVD, Blu-ray now, or 4K, whatever. So perhaps things were, people saw films and they had to wait years and years before they saw it again, and they'd be on TV. So maybe they didn't analyze films quite as much. The Soulcraft here says, and hello Soulcraft, thanks for joining us. Look at the posters on his bedroom wall. It's all half naked dudes. Now, one of my best friends growing up he was a massive WWE fan, or WWF when we were kids initially. And his bedroom wall was just absolutely full of dudes, just oiled up muscle dudes in pants. Not, you know, but he was just this huge wrestling fan.
Yeah.
And so I was used to seeing posters like that when I went round my best mate's house all the time.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, Vic here says, Sam's reaction to Grandpa's taxiderm animals, though. Yeah, that's a brilliant moment in the film. And the more and more of them you see, the Joker, and when he opens up the closet later, and you can see that the Grandpa's just been putting more and more in there, and he's hiding them away. I think we should probably talk a little bit about the cast now, given that we're discussing characters.
Okay.
So Jason Patrick playing Michael Emerson. Is he the main character? Yeah, he's the main character. He is the main character.
Yeah.
You know, it's certainly.
And what did I tell you about? What fact did I tell you about?
Dude,
Jason
I was
Patrick?
just about to bring that up and embarrass you, so that's fine. You're preempting it. So last Sunday, I gave Monkeyboy a call just to sort of just have a catch up, and we got talking about the show, and we had to sort of stop ourselves. We're like, we'll have nothing to discuss on the show when we get there. And he goes, yeah, well, Jason Patrick, you know, he's the brother of Robert Patrick. And I was like, oh, Robert Patrick, the T-1000. He was like, yeah, absolutely. I was like, dude, I have not come across that in any of my research. Fantastic. Thanks for telling me. I don't want to look a dick on the stream not knowing this fact. And you were so convinced, you were so sold on this.
Oh man, I came in hot with that fact.
You did. Anyway, so we got off the phone, and I knew you were going to go and have a kip because you were feeling tired. And I sort of thought I'd do a little bit more research. And I was like, well, number one, Jason Patrick. The Patrick hasn't got a K on the end like Robert Patrick that has. So there's the first thing. So I'm IMDbing it. I'm looking around because I've read IMDb. I've bloody looked on Wikipedia. This is something that would have come up a week out from the show. I'm normally pretty well into the subject. And so Jason Patrick is not the brother of Robert Patrick, the T-1000. Have you seen this boy? Monkeyboy was so convinced by that fact.
Yeah.
That it was unreal. So Jason Patrick there, top right-hand corner, looking like Jim Morrison with the specs on. You will have noticed that in the cave in the film, there's a poster of Jim Morrison.
Yeah, I was going to mention that later on, yeah.
Yeah, we'll come back to the Jim Morrison connection later on, but there you go. The young, handsome Jason Patrick, not the brother of Robert Patrick. So,
no. I'm really glad you checked that, because you'd have looked a right idiot.
Oh, what, like I did when I didn't have the ages of the deaths of the directors earlier, and I was trying to Google it, and I couldn't spell Joel Schumacher, and I had to say, right, well, we'll just carry on for a moment.
In my defence, though, I remember when I found out that incorrect fact was when T2 was released, and somebody told me very convincingly, and I think they believed it, that the T-1000 was the brother of the guy in the Lost Boys, and I believed it at that point, and it's never really come up again. It's just one of those things that I believed as a child, and I've never really thought about it, to be honest. So I guess
sometimes I was
just convinced of it, and I've been wrong for 30 years.
I can't think of I've had facts in my life that I have just taken as gospel, and there haven't been. I can't think of an example right now, which doesn't help the fact, but there have been things people told me, like you, when they've been so convinced. I've just believed it. It happens, man. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, just to say a couple of films Jason Patrick did. We're not going to go for him. He hasn't got the biggest list, but Sleepers from 96, Speed 2, Cruise Control. He was the replacement for Keanu Reeves. They didn't recast Keanu Reeves. He was a straight up different character. And I will say, controversially, I didn't mind Speed 2. I thought it was an all right movie. It's all right. Yeah, it's not as good as Speed, but I don't think Speed is the epic movie people remember it as being. I think it's a good film. I don't think it's like one of the best.
Without wanting to get too far off track and derail the topic, Is it
You're
a
going to do it
similar
anyway.
concept of a vehicle being armed with a bomb and they've got to keep going quickly?
Similar, but this time they're on a cruise ship, and they're. I think is Willem Dafoe the bad guy in it? Anyway, before we get too far, we'll watch it together.
Okay,
We'll do
I'm
a
going to
watch
I'll
party on
check
it
that one
one
out.
night.
Check that out.
Yeah, he was also in a film called Narc in 2002 and others.
Oh, that is
Now,
really good. Have you seen
is
Narc?
it? I haven't seen Narc. No.
Oh, dude, you should watch that. You should watch that.
If you're saying it's
Honestly,
good, I'll
man, it's
watch it.
really, really, really good.
You've not recommended me a crap movie yet, so I will check it out.
Dude, it's really good. It's quite upsetting. Not in a boo-hoo way, but in a, oh my goodness. But I certainly, I'd recommend watching Narc. Very good film.
Sorry, I had myself muted there. It's because I was trying to hold back off. 80s to 90s legendary nostalgia. Thank you for joining us, man. Or lady, I don't know who you are, so thank you for joining us. Speed was top action movie of the 90s until The Matrix. So yeah, I mean, I do think Speed is a fantastic movie. I think there are better movies from the 90s, but then it's all subjective, isn't it? We all like different things. If this is one of your favorite films, and all the power to you. But thank you for joining us. And yeah, what else was I going to say? Yeah, I was going to go through some more of the characters. The actors. Corey Haim playing Sam Emerson, one of the two Coreys. I will just say before we go too deep into his, sadly no longer with us. He passed away on March 10th, 2010 at the age of 38, which is very sad. I mean, I'm 41 next month. That's just younger than me, dude. All the press outlets said that it was to do with drugs. The official cause of death that was put out there was it was due to pneumonia. So that's what's out there, but the press were suggesting it was a drug overdose because of some of his past and things, but that's the press for you. So yeah, no, sadly no longer with us. One half of the two Coreys, other films, License to Drive, two Coreys movie, Dream a Little Dream. Both of those were two Coreys movies, and we are going to have a little bit of a discussion about the two Coreys shortly.
So really, the Lost Boys was basically the height of his career then.
Yeah, and I think once I go into the next character, we'll dig into this a little bit more. The next actor, so Corey Feldman as Edgar Frog.
Corey Feldman, I like a bit of Corey Feldman.
Corey Feldman, extremely good actor. Now, Corey these days, we don't like to go too deep and dark on Real Impact, but he's had issues. There's allegations of abuse within Hollywood for several different things. They're all there. They're all very well documented if you want to check them out. So feel free to check them out.
Yeah, I think separating the art from the artist, I do rate Corey Feldman, certainly in his younger career. I mean, sure that there are films where he was, I guess, a bit cheesy and a bit hammy, but largely I think that was due to the writing and the character. If you study the guy in his younger films, in his earlier films, he was actually a very smart actor. He reacted well to others, even when he wasn't, directly in the scene, or he was just,
There's a scene for me, and he was very young in this. He was in Gremlins.
Yeah.
The scene for me when you see how good he was when he's reacting with the Gizmo puppet.
Yeah.
And you can see that young actor. You believe there's lots of precocious kids in acting, and when you see him, you think, oh, just shut the. They just make you just like, oh, it's so. I don't know what it is. It's just like something unsettling about some child actors.
No, he was very good,
but
he was very
convincing.
He was natural, and he clearly he was clearly buying into his characters. I mean, I can't say whether or not he was method or not. I think he was probably too young to be able to be method, because I imagine he was just dicking around, offset like any other young person would be. But certainly on screen, he really sold stuff, and I really rate him. I mean, particularly in the 80s, he really couldn't miss. I mean, not only were the films that was in good in and of themselves, he was very good in them, and he's also been very good in films that actually weren't good themselves. So I do rate him, and I think I'd probably go so far as to say if he hadn't had his troubles, which we're not going to go into, but if that hadn't have happened and he hadn't sort of been, I guess, in a way, knocked down and to a certain extent ostracized from um, the sort of A-list community, I think he would have gone on to do some amazing work. I mean, I reckon he could have been one of the best actors of his generation if it hadn't all gone so badly wrong for him.
I think so.
I mean,
I think that's a fair
he and
point.
River Phoenix in Stand by Me
Yeah, I've
are
got that listed
fantastic.
down.
Well, actually, the whole cast of that are fantastic. But no, I do rate Corey Feldman's earlier work. I think it was very good, and he was a very compelling um, actor to watch. I
Definitely.
mean,
You
he's great fun in the Burbs. Obviously, the Goonies. I mean, he's just he's good, and
voice
I
of
think
Donatello in the Turtles movies, which
yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
big
yeah,
fan of.
yeah. But I think he also the way he carried himself. I think he came across as sort of wise beyond his years in many respects. He he just seemed he had a kind of world weariness about him, even at a young age, which no, I think he was really good. It's a shame that he is where he is now. Um, I mean, apparently lost the plot, but yeah, no, a very good actor. I mean, if I mean, I've made a list here. Just, I mean, most of these were in the 80s, but I mean, starting off with he worked before this and obviously after, but Friday the 13th Part 4 was one of his first major roles.
Yeah, you
Followed
reminded me
up,
of that one. I forgot that.
followed up by Gremlins. Obviously, not a main, not the main cast, but still a feature performance worthy of note. Followed up again with Friday the 13th Part 5, which he was in a bit. Then, of course, the Goonies, where he absolutely smashed that role. Stand by Me, arguably his best character work. Very good film. I mean, I watched that or 3 or 4 months ago, maybe, and it's still just as good these days.
It's
I think
probably
that's
been
a
30
timeless
years
film.
since I've seen it. I must watch it again.
It's really good. I mean, it sort of brings a tear to your eye, really. Some of that. Of course, then the Lost Boys came after Stand by Me, and I think it was the Lost Boys that really kind of cemented his position at the time as being one of the premier young um, young sort of talent in the industry. And then, to be honest, it kind of dipped off after that because I mean, License to Drive was okay. That followed the Lost Boys and trying to capitalise on the sort of two Coreys thing, which we maybe discuss in a moment. Then he did The Burbs with Tom Hanks, another great role. He was good fun in that. And then it was the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film. Did a couple of others after that. National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon was probably the highlight of that interim period. And then came back for TMNT 3. So I'm not sure who voiced Donatello in TMNT 2.
Mm, I, I should probably remember, given that I did probably the most extensive research ever on that,
But
the
I
first
think
ever
it was
APC
strange
I
that he
did.
did. did 1 and 3. I can only imagine that he was having some difficulties, perhaps.
Something in my head says that it was something to do with life difficulties. If I'm reaching really back into the connection in my head, it's interesting you say that. So we say about the 2 Corys. I'm going to come back to a couple of comments in a moment. I'm not ignoring them, guys, I promise. But when we were chatting about this the other day, when you think License to Drive, for instance, when you think that had a budget of $8 million, right, which is just $500,000 less than what The Lost Boys had, and excuse me, one moment. You drink gassy beer, it has an effect on you. I do apologise. And you consider that what it took, not too shabby, was 22.4 million. But then we noticed a trend, didn't we?
Yeah,
we noticed a trend.
So if you rapid drop off after that, I mean, License to Drive was basically sold on the 2 Corys on the premise of having them both in a film together for the duration of the film.
So if I jump to Dream a Little Dream just quickly, they don't even cite what the budget for that movie was. All I found anywhere, and I looked all over, was that the box office was between $5.1 million and $5.5 million. There's no listing for the budget, which tells me it didn't perform. And I don't need to go over all of them, but basically there's a bit of a theme there. And yeah, there's no doubting that the 2 Corys, they both said in their, like, you know, Corey Haim, who's sadly no longer with us, as I've already said, him and Corey Feldman said they were true great friends. That's not false. Yeah. Nothing was forced about that. They became brilliant friends on the set of Lost Boys. But when you consider they did that show, the 2 Corys, for TV, which I agree with you, I think a lot of people watch that because of Corey Feldman and some of the documented things and that. It was car crash TV, and I think it was a little bit exploitative, to be honest.
That's what it is. But I mean, there's this massive there's this tendency, and if you hear people talking about the Lost Boys, and you see documentaries on it, or you hear people talking about the 2 Corys, there is a tendency for people to somehow overstate and overplay the impact.
Completely agree.
That they had.
I watched. If I could just jump in for 2 seconds there, I watched an hour and a half podcast the other day. Listened to it on YouTube. The name escapes me now. It's one of the guys who did work with James Rolfe from AVGN. Anyway, the 2 ladies on there were really leaning into the 2 Corys thing, and I'm thinking about I can't speak on it 100% because I wasn't around for it, but all the research, all the figures, and everything I'm reading outside of this is that this is being remembered as something bigger than what it actually was. Hollywood were very much forcing this narrative, and they were trying to create. They were capitalizing on a true friendship and the success of the Lost Boys, and they were really trying to create something that perhaps the public didn't want as much as they were trying to tell the public they wanted. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I look at it this way, right? Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm far off. If they hadn't both shared the same first name, none of this would have happened. None of what followed would have happened in terms of them being pushed to the front as a sort of power pairing. And I think if they had shared the same name, but it had been something like Steve, or I don't know, Mark, or something like that, again, I don't think they'd have pushed it. I know Corey isn't an unusual name, particularly in America. It's not completely unusual, but it's unusual enough that it's unlikely to have 2 Corys in a similar sort of co-starring role in a movie. And I think it was just one of those things where somebody at some point picked that up and went, oh, the 2 Corys, and it sparked that idea, and they thought they've got good chemistry, let's make a lot of money off them, and it didn't happen. And for all these documentaries and interviews where people say, "Oh yeah, the two Coreys, blah blah blah," basically the Lost Boys was the start of that kind of that was where the pinnacle was, and that was it. It was downhill after that. Even License to Drive didn't really deliver what Hollywood was expecting.
No,
I think the
it
audience
wasn't.
enjoyed it,
It wasn't
but
shabby.
certainly,
It wasn't. It wasn't terrible, given it was an 8 million budget, did 22.5 million. But that's certainly not the success
yeah,
they would have been hoping for. They were probably hoping for like 30, 40 plus $million.
yeah,
I think they thought they had these two young, good-looking kids, and as you say, they were going to work on the chemistry, and they wanted them. It's the sort of thing where you can imagine if it would have picked up any further, given that, Corey Feldman, I mean, his musical career is interesting. It's there on YouTube to be watched. That's all I'll say on that. I don't want to bring down another musician. But it wouldn't have surprised me if this would have picked up like they thought, that they would have pushed them to like maybe do an album together or something. Do you know what I mean? Like to really push the brand. I do feel we need to.
It didn't work, did it? It didn't, and it was downhill. So all this talk of them being, the power pairing. I mean, it's rubbish as far as I'm concerned. It didn't happen.
And that's the thing. Last thing I'm going to say on the two Coreys, I completely agree with you, dude. But everyone seems to remember it very differently to what the information out there will tell you when you dig deeper into it, which is what we're saying. I'm not saying we're right, everyone else is wrong. We're just putting across to you what we see this to be from the information out there.
Yeah.
And we could be completely wrong, and if we are, we're a couple of pair of bellends. But this is what we've come across, basically, to put it bluntly.
But back to Corey Feldman, he did an awful lot of TV. It's not really. I'm not going to go into any of the stuff particularly, but he did do quite a lot of TV. But I just wanted to point out that he did I think 50 or 60 episodes of a TV show called. Let me look at this. It was called Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go.
You know what? And that title alone makes me want to watch every single episode. Right. I do feel we need to move on a little bit because we've got a lot of cars to go through. And then I want to get into some of we've done the production stuff. I want to then really talk about the bones of films. I want to jump to a couple of comments that we've had. So I'll just come to the cast. I'm going to come back to the comments. So it's, I have to say, Jameson Newlander was Alan Frog. Now, the interesting thing here, Edgar and Alan. Do you see the connection?
Poe.
Yes, that's what they were going for, as a play on Edgar Allan Poe. And then we have to jump in. Jack Bauer himself. Now, dude, I'm sure I've told you, but I am encyclopedic knowledge on this show to a level of ridiculousness. I love the show 24. I've seen every episode probably 10 times now, which when you consider how many are, that's a lot of 24.
Oh, I've never seen it.
Sutherland, man. And it ain't for everyone, and maybe it's not aged. Maybe some of the earlier seasons wouldn't have aged as well now. Anyway, Kiefer Sutherland playing David. I love Kiefer. Kiefer is great. My missus has got a massive crush on him. She's even been fantastic musician. Carla, Mrs. APD, has been to see him live with his band. Yeah.
What does he do?
He sings. I think he might play guitar as well. To be honest with you, I've heard his stuff. He's good. Not my cup of tea, but Carla likes it, so I can't give you too much more on it than that. No,
I've never seen 24. Never seen it, but I have seen a couple of shots of him in 24, and I noticed that he's got a really baggy ear because Kiefer Sutherland has a flesh tunnel in his ear, which obviously he's taken out for shooting. But I saw a couple of shots taken from 24 where you can see he's got a big sort of ear vagina.
Well, that's one. Anyway, moving on quickly. So there's something you can do. So if we're going to connect 24 and the Lost Boys, other than the fact Kiefer Sutherland being in it. So so here's a little fact for you. In this film, they say Michael over 100 times. So if you want to get absolutely shit faced, do a shot or a sip of beer every time someone says Michael, because I tell you what, you're going to be wasted. However, the same can be said in 24 because they can't swear because it was a Fox TV show and whatnot. He says, "Damn it!" Every character says, "Damn it" when someone's wrong. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! And it became a that did become a thing where people were like, it became a drinking game. Anyway, I digress. I'm on one now. So let me just scroll back to my notes. Give me one. I love how I try to hide my gasp by putting my hand up and muting it. Never works.
No, that's all right. You didn't hear it. Okay, let's gloss over everyone else because no one else matters.
Well, no, I think there's a couple of people I do want to mention. I want to mention Jamie Gertz as Star, which was in 16 Candles, various TV roles. I mean, we didn't go over things Kiefer Sutherland's done. So Stand By Me, Flatliners, Young Guns, Few Good Men, Jack Bauer 24. He's Kiefer Sutherland. He's awesome. Love Kiefer. Jamie Gertz. So a couple of, one film she's been in, 16 Candles. I believe she was in Twister. Various TV roles. Absolutely minted. Minted beyond minted. She is so ridiculously rich because she does some production work and whatnot in Hollywood. But she married billionaire investor Tony Ressler, and they have many joint business ventures together, which include co-owning the Atlanta Hawks, the NBA team.
Oh.
Yeah. And
so
there's that. And I think she may have dated Kiefer Sutherland or was going to get married, and then she ended up dating the guy who played Michael. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that because I haven't got it all written down. But yeah. And I think we've got to say Alex Winter, Marco, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. You know that. Yeah, I want to mention him. Edward Herman as Max, the head vampire. He was awesome. He was in The Great Gatsby, Overboard, The Aviator. Huge career in TV, theatre, and television. And Diana Weiss, man, come on, we've got to mention her. Lucy Emerson, the mother of the boys, Michael and Sam. And her name in the film Lucy is a homage to the character Lucy Wessner from Bram Stoker's. That's not Stroker. Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I thought you turned into Scott Knightlick then, and you were gonna keep calling it Bram Stroker for the rest of it.
And then we are going to jump past the rest of the cast because it's all that, there's a lot there, but they are the ones who I really wanted to mention. I just want to jump back in to a couple of comments that came up because I see you all here, guys. I think it was. What's it? 80s, 90s legend nostalgia says, I don't feel Corey Feldman was too prevalent in Lost Boys. No, maybe not. But I think he's. I think the Frog Brothers were key characters. I think it's interesting that Feldman for this role was basically told to go and watch Rambo movies and impersonate Rambo and whatnot.
Although I've got to say, I didn't think that the Frog Brothers had good chemistry. I don't think Jason Newland. What was the guy's? What was Alan Frogg's name? I don't think he was very good.
Let me just go back up. Jameson Newlander, yeah.
I don't think he was very good. Unfortunately, he was very, very one note. Just looked pissed off the whole time, which is fine. But he just didn't. I don't know. He just didn't seem particularly present in any of it. He was very bland.
I just want to answer a question as well. I can't find the comment, but 80s, 90s did say to me, just out of interest, what are other 90s films that you feel, I think, were better than Speed? Point Break. Done a show on it. I think Point Break versus, and it's all subjective, but that would be one of my choices there for that. MSC says Stand By Me will always beat the test of time. One of those classic coming of age movies, absolutely. And I've just literally watched every episode of The Big Bang Theory because my son is basically the real life Sheldon Cooper. And obviously Will Wheaton, one of the characters from Stand By Me, is in The Big Bang Theory. So
is he?
Just keep it. Yeah, he is. Yeah. He plays Will Wheaton. Will Wheaton plays Will Wheaton in The Big Bang Theory. Very funny.
Okay.
obviously he's known for TNG as well, The Next Generation. Star Trek. I say obviously, if you don't follow Star Trek, it wouldn't be obvious now, would it? Just check a couple more comments from people to see if there's any others. What's Rob saying here? Feldman was in Friday the 13th movie too, I think. Yeah, we did. Monkeyboy did go over that. What did you say? Was it 4 and 7? You said
he was in 4 and 5, and then he was
4
in
and 5,
and then his character was in 7, and but he wasn't in it because obviously he was much older at that point. So the shots of young Tommy Jarvis were sort of archive footage from the previous films, but yeah.
And to come to Tree's comment here, both Coreys would have had better futures if they had better advocates. Well, yeah, most definitely. Yeah. And Vic saying that's our Mrs. S. I have posters of the Coreys on my wall. So yeah, maybe it's contrary to what we believe. This is just going on what we can see from what we know. However, we must move on. What have I got here? Dude, no, we've covered all that. Should we talk about the music before we talk about scenes of the film we like? Because I think the music for this film is the music. I always look very Austin Powers, don't I?
Yeah. Let's talk. I mean, let's talk about the soundtrack, because I mean that soundtrack is absolutely brilliant, and I would say a good third, if not more, of the tracks on there, in theory, I wouldn't like. It's only because they've been in that film and they've got that, and they just remind me of the Lost Boys, that I'm fond of them. But there are, several tracks in there that I wouldn't ordinarily have enjoyed. But yes, that soundtrack is fantastic. I remember, I think I must have been about 14 or 15, and one day I'd discovered, I'd been up in my parents'
I was going to say,
attic.
go careful what you're telling us you discovered.
I'd been up in my parents' attic, and I discovered my childhood Lego. And I mean, I hadn't seen it for years, and so I thought, do you know what? I'm going to get this massive box of Lego down, and I'm just going to muck about with it, and build stuff and just kind of play with it, I guess. And so I did that, and so I brought it down and I set it up in this. I put it in the spare room, and I got my ghetto blaster, and I chucked the Lost Boys tape in, and quite often cassette players had that function where you could switch it to automatically play the other side, so you wouldn't have to take the tape out and turn it over. It would just automatically play both ways. And so I did that, and I must have sat there for a good 6 or 7 hours. I basically spent the whole day just mucking about with this Lego, and the Lost Boys was on a loop continuously, to the point where by the end of the day, unfortunately, I'd stretched the tape out. Not hugely, but to the point where it had started to go a bit wobbly, when you've played a cassette too much. And
or like when it's a hot summer's day and it's in your dad's car or something, and like the tape just warps a bit. It just goes a bit.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously I played it a lot before then anyway. This wasn't the first time I played it, but yeah, that was the day that my Lost Boys cassette was ruined. That's when it gave up the ghost and went all baggy, I'm afraid.
Well, I just want to jump in and say the composer for this movie, as we're talking about your baggy tape, was Thomas Newman. He was known for films such as The Shawshank Redemption, Meet Joe Black and the Green Mile, American Beauty, Skyfall, Spectre. That just names a couple of James Bond films on there. I've got to throw in there. I'm a Bond fan. We know that. I would say the soundtrack highlights for me are probably Cry Little Sister by Jared McMahon, Lost in the Shadows by Lou Gramm, and People Are Strange by Echo and the Bunnymen. Although I will say I'm a massive Doors fan and I do prefer the original version, but I do think Echo and the Bunnymen did a fantastic version. I used to play People Are Strange in my old band.
Yeah.
Great bass line. Great bass line. You can make that bass line as hard or as complicated as you want, basically.
Oh, okay.
And well, yeah, you can just cheat and not do change all the little fills and stuff. Of course, had to learn it all because that's me. I'm a bit obsessive
I,
like
I
that.
think my favourite. I mean, I've got. There's probably 3 or 4 songs that I really do like on there. Um,
You tell me the 3 or 4 you
People Are
really like,
Strange. I
and I'll tell
like.
you the one I really dislike.
Cry Little Sister is probably my favourite, and there are some great covers of that. There's
Marilyn Manson's is banging. To be fair,
Oh, I haven't heard that.
oh, it's
There's a
very good.
cover of it by a band called Churches, and that's
Oh, I
really
know
good.
Churches. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they've done a cover of Cry Little Sister. That's very, very good. There's a normal version and an extended version, and that's really good. And there's a cover done by, I can't remember the name, but it's an organisation that I guess supports young people in some way, because they often have that they do covers of songs, normally rock and metal songs, and it's done by a different group of young people every time. And I cannot remember. It's some sort of charity or something, but they get these young musicians. Some of them are very young, um, and they play absolutely amazing covers of this stuff. They're all so talented. Um, but I don't remember what it's called, unfortunately. But if you go on YouTube and search "Cry Little Sister" cover, you'll find it there at some point. And yeah, that's a great cover as well. Very, very nice. In fact, I prefer both of those covers to the one on the soundtrack, actually. But yeah.
Rob H.
Um,
Big Rob, who you came on with for what film did we do together? We did Independence Day as free, didn't we?
yeah.
Yeah, he's saying Jared McMahon, Cry Little Sister, love it. I do love it. Just to say, there's only probably one track on here I'm not that big a fan of, and that's To the Shock of Miss Louise. It's like the harpsichord, it's like the fairground. It just goes through me a little bit.
Yeah, is it that sort of Calliope fairground
something
carnival
about
music?
it just fucking, excuse my French, just puts my teeth on edge, man. Something about it. Sorry, a little F-bomb just dropped out of me then. There you go, the mask slipped. I do think it's Good Times, which I believe was I think it was originally just done by Jimmy Barnes, but Jimmy Barnes and Jimmy Barnes and INXS, Australian rock bands. They did. No, sorry, it was originally a song by the Easy Beats. I've cocked myself up there. So the Easy Beats, but Jimmy Barnes and INXS covered that, both Australian legends in the rock.
I think that was only briefly in the film. Isn't that in the scene where
it is?
Where Dude gets skewered into the stereo?
I believe so, yeah. And also, yes, you're right. I believe you're right there. And there's a couple of songs in the film. I watched it again last night just to sort of catch up. No, not last night, Thursday night. What am I saying? The week goes so quick. A couple of the songs are only literally very faintly in the background. They're just very faintly there. Cry Little Sister is another one, which if you wanted to do a drinking game, every time they bloody play a segment of that from it, you get absolutely shit-faced every time they bring that up. The one I do want to bring up, and which I absolutely love, and I've got to speak about him a little bit, and we've already had him up because Cy wants to dress as him, Tim Capello there, the sax man. Yeah. Actually, little fact about him, he was Tina Turner's touring saxophone player, or saxophonist, I believe is the correct term.
Yeah. He's quite an accomplished session saxophonist, as it were.
Very,
but since the Lost Boys, he's basically made a career out of playing that one song everywhere, conventions and all sorts of gatherings and stuff. But he's basically known for that. That is his life. I mean, on his tombstone, it's going to say, "Here lies Tim Capello, the buttered-up saxophone guy."
Well, they'll have to go careful if they bury him, because the oil will pollute the ground. If they burn him, he'll go up like God knows what.
I can just imagine, like, during the shoot, Joel Schumacher saying, "Cut, we need more margarine. Slather it on him."
Well, Tina Turner apparently described him as 6 foot of hunking walking muscle.
Well, yeah.
if Tina Turner's going to say that about you, I mean, she's no longer with us. Don't ask me for the dates, dude. You did that to me earlier. I'm not Googling it. I think that was back last year she passed. However, he's very well accomplished in the musical world, very well respected. And you are right, he does go. He still looks good for. I think he's 70 or 71 now.
He's getting on. He doesn't wear the codpiece on its
no,
own
but he's in better
anymore.
condition than you and I, mate.
Oh yeah. No, I don't think he had the codpiece on his own in the film, did he? I think he had some leather trousers or something. But
he had
still...
spandex like wrestler trousers on.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, he still kind of wears that, but I think he wears some sort of a vest now.
But let me just bang through the tracks, and if this listing is wrong, this is the one I've pulled from online. I've been listening to it on Spotify, and it's not in this order, so I don't know what is the correct order. But let's go with what I've got here. The Good Times, Jimmy Barnes, In Excess, an Easy Beats cover, original artist Easy Beats 1960s Australian hit. There you go. So that was what I was saying earlier, where I cocked myself up. Lost in the Shadows, which I absolutely love, by Lou Gramm.
Yeah.
Fantastic song. Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me, Roger Daltrey, Elton John, Bernie Taupin. I don't recall hearing that in the film. I'll be honest with you. It's probably there. It's probably... It's
over the end credits. It's the film ends with People Are Strange, and then it goes into Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me.
It does end with People Are Strange, but I didn't stick around much past that. So there you go. Bad on me. Laying Down the Law, Jimmy Barnes, and In Excess, so another collab they did there. We've already said Cry Little Sister, which is listed as theme from the Lost Boys, which I don't think we can deny is the theme from the Lost Boys. Mm-hmm. Power Play by Eddie and the Tide. I Still Believe, Tim Capello, we've mentioned that, the Cool. Beauty Has Her Way, Mummy Calls, and I've said Shock to Miss Louise, Thomas Newman. So yeah, it was officially released by Atlantic Records in 1987. 2008, they did a special edition CD re-release. And I have a question.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, go for it. Go for your
I was just going to say, there is a track in the film that features more than some of those, but it's not on the soundtrack for some reason. And it's a track by Run DMC that plays over the scene where the vampires are sitting in the tree, and there's the gathering of kind of biker dudes around the fire, and then they go in and murder all the biker dudes, and it's I forget the name of the track now, but it's a Run DMC track, and that's not on the soundtrack. I mean, I'm quite glad about it. And I don't know why it isn't on the soundtrack.
Isn't Walk This Way on it? Walk This Way.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, and it didn't make it onto the soundtrack, and all I can think is either they had some sort of licensing issues and weren't able to. But I find that a bit of a stretch. If they allowed it to be in the film, I don't know why they wouldn't want it on the soundtrack. You would think that would be great for them. So I don't know the reason why it wasn't included on the soundtrack. But I will say, I don't think it would have fit in with the overall feeling of the thing.
Probably not.
But I don't know why they would exclude it.
I know the track you mean, and it is, someone's put it together on Spotify, and it is in with Spotify, and it does stand out like a sore thumb, to be fair.
Yeah.
So, because we've got to keep moving, we've got to keep pushing, man.
Okay.
Question for you. Does the soundtrack define the Lost Boys, or would it still work without its 80s rock edge?
I think it just works really well. I mean, it's difficult to say, isn't it? Because we know the film and we know the soundtrack, and I guess it's hard to imagine. It's as hard to imagine a different soundtrack as it would be to imagine different actors playing the roles. So it's a difficult one, but I certainly think it did well. And actually, given that the kind of MTV leanings of the look of the film, I'm surprised at some of the choices they made for the soundtrack. But I think it does work really well. And I mean, it would be easy to say, oh, I can't hear any of those songs without thinking of the Lost Boys, but let's be honest, we never hear any of those songs anyway.
No, we don't. We don't.
So
Well, to be honest
yeah,
with you, like People Are Strange, you won't, you will never. I'm not. I don't want to say never, but if you're going to hear People Are Strange anyway, you'll hear the original Doors version. It's what it is. It's
right.
Cry Little Sister. You might hear around Halloween if you've got Spotify and it does a Halloween mix. But a lot of those songs, they're not hugely out there. They're not. They're not. They don't get regular
But
play.
I
Do
think
they?
Cry Little Sister was written specifically for the film. I
I
think.
believe it was. Yeah. And if I'm
Um,
wrong on that, feel free, anyone in the chat, to correct me, but I believe it was. I'm sorry to do this to you. We are going to have to keep motoring because we've got about 35 minutes left before I want
okay.
to sort of wrap things up, and we've
So
got a few bits
how
to
should
go
we do
over.
the last bit? Sort of kind of. But I
It's all right.
as
I've
I
got a
watched the
structure.
film, I made notes as I went along. So I've got a couple of pages of notes that are basically it's not everything in the movie, but I just did them as things occurred to me. So this would be two pages of my sort of random thoughts. Really,
That's fine,
I
man.
guess.
Look, I've got a structure, but how many times do I follow the structure of the show on Real Impact? Ooh, probably one in every 10.
Well, this covers. Are
I
your
do want to
notes
discuss some of the visuals. I've got to discuss some of the
sure?
visuals on this.
Are your notes sequential from start to finish of the movie?
Not necessarily. Right. I'll discuss a couple of visual bits, then we'll come in with yours. How's that? Because I just want
All
to
right.
jump onto these.
Okay.
And the reason I want to discuss the visuals in this film is because I think that this film, I don't think there's any way it can be denied today that this film has inspired the look of vampires and vampire movies going forward, especially in the teen genre. Yeah, I don't think we can ever get away from that. For example, Josh Whedon, he has said he took inspiration from these vampires, not for the film he did of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the film, but for the TV series. He's outright said, yeah, I took
Yeah.
inspiration from these vampires. And when you look at the blood on the vampires in the Lost Boys when they come out from after they stake the guy from Bill and Ted in the chest,
Yeah.
did you notice the glitter in the blood, the sparkliness?
Yeah. I mean, it is a bit spangly. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was purposely done to make the blood seem as though it sparkled. And I think you can probably push into things like, Twilight, sparkly vampires. And and then the moodiness of it. And I mean, even things I've been rewatching Stranger Things recently, which I know is not about vampires, but that 80s look, that feel, it carries through so much today. And I don't believe there's any way that the guys who make, I forget the name of the brothers who do it, but the guys who make Stranger Things, they've watched this film many a time because they've taken lots of certain tropes and looks from it.
Yeah.
And I don't believe it can be a coincidence. Let me just jump in. Okay, so to my question, do you agree with me? Do you believe the Lost Boys redefined what vampires look like on screen today?
I think it was heavily influential. Yeah. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think the Lost Boys was, I to a greater extent, the first time we'd seen vampires that were young, sexy, for want of a better word. I know that vampires have this, it's part of the mythology that they're, seductive and this sort of thing, and so I appreciate that. But this was the first time that visually they were sort of presented like that. Previously, with things like Dracula and various other vampire films, the vampires were most often sort of middle-aged men, and this was, I guess, the first time we'd seen the subversive youth.
Okay, so to bring up one of your slides, I don't know if you wanted to get to them yet, but let's look at this now. You sent me some slides that you wanted me to bring up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the teeth, the fang placement that was used in the Lost Boys is is worthy of note. Prior to that, we'd normally seen the vampire fangs were placed on the first set of canine teeth that we have in the upper jaw there, and you can see them on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. We've got Christopher Lee on the left there, and you can see his fangs are on the first set of canine teeth. So not the first two front teeth, not the second pair after that, but the second pair after that. And again, Gary Oldman on the right there in Bram Stoker's Dracula. His fangs are also on the canine teeth. If you hop to the next slide, Nick, please. Here we see Nosferatu from 1922 on the left. His fangs are on the front two incisors, more like where a rat's long teeth are. And this was mimicked very closely in the TV series Salem's Lot in 1979. Again, the vampire had the fangs on the front two teeth. But if you skip to the next slide, boom, here we see Kiefer Sutherland as David in The Lost Boys. And you can see slightly more clearly on the image on the right, the vampire fangs are on the second set of incisors. So that's the teeth in between the front teeth and the canine teeth. Now, many people may disagree with me, but in my opinion, this fang placement is certainly for me at least, the most intimidating placement of the teeth. I think the front two teeth, as we saw in Nosferatu, just look a bit goofy and a bit silly.
Well, did we not discuss something about the placement of, not to go too technical, but we were both on a video call pretending to bite our arm about what would be the most effective fang placement, and we agreed, I believe, that the ones from the Lost Boys, because they're here, right, would actually mean that they would get in, they would puncture the skin, and they would be able to form a real good seal of the mouth around you to suck blood. This is the level. This is the level of detail we were going to the other day, like working out.
I mean,
what fangs would be best as a vampire.
I mean, back in my youth, I had two sets of custom fangs, and I had a set that were the traditional placement on the canine teeth, as we saw in the Hammer films and those sorts of things, and I had a set that were placed where the Lost Boys are. And I can tell you from experience that biting someone or things with the old school placement it's much more difficult, because you've got to open your mouth wider, and you can't. There's no real pleasant way of saying this. You can't get a good suck. Whereas the Lost Boys placement, you can. They're further forward in the mouth. You can bite easier, and like you say,
your mouth.
Your lips make a better seal around that, because your mouth isn't open as wide, and so you can actually pull and draw into your mouth rather than it's actually quite hard with the slightly further back fang placement. I do think it's important.
I am going to jump to comment here from Jojo. She says, "What's up with those dates? They can't be right. If you're referring to Nosferatu 1922, absolutely correct. It's over 100 years old, mate."
Yep.
It's
yes, it is. I think it's the first vampire film, and I also think it might be the first proper horror film.
Well, another dual reason to the fang discussion why I chucked up this one earlier and sort of put you into the discussion of fangs, were you saying about how vampires look at Christopher Lee there, that sort of middle-aged man, and that's I'm pressing the wrong thing on blooming StreamYard now. And that to what was Ben Stutley saying there, Christopher Lee was born in 1922. He didn't pop out like that, surely. Well, I guess not. And VTR, Vintage Toy Rush, our Dave, and thank you for joining us, Stephen, says, yeah, vampires who remain vampires who remain eternally young, therefore the film's name, The Lost Boys. Yep, well, there's that about, and the Peter Pan connection we discussed earlier. And he's also saying, is Monkey Boy a vampire? Because you did say there from experience of biting people, which we don't need to go into, but we can leave that as one of the mysteries there. But there are other interesting things. So we've briefly gone into the fangs, but there's other things that are interesting in this film. So the eyes of the vampires stood out to me. And what's very interesting here is at that point in Hollywood, now you get these flexible sort of rubber or gel contact lenses that you can buy anywhere, and you pop them in your eye. And there's a fantastic scene in the film. So when which vampire is it they stake? Is it Ted?
Yeah, Alex Winter.
Yeah, Alex Winter. So the scene where Kiefer reaches out and he grabs. Does he grab the frog? Is it Sat? I can't remember. My brain's going.
When they drag him into the sunlight.
They drag him into the sunlight, and his hand sets on fire, which is one of the only scenes in the film you'll see Kiefer's hand exposed, because he wore gloves through most of it and long sleeve because he busted his wrist doing a motorbike stunt. And that's why he had that's why they hid his arms with the long sleeve most of the way through the film. However, it then cuts to Kiefer's face and he's there and a tear runs down his arm.
Teardrop, yeah.
Yeah, that's not by design. That was not done to make it look as though it was sad. That's because the bloody glass contact lens absolutely irritated the crap out of his eye, and they caught it on camera and they're like, magic, that's magic. We're keeping that. And absolutely. And it's so natural.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
VTR there said, not denying it. Yeah, I mean, he's not denying being a vampire, is he?
No, I think those lenses work really cool. There's a great shot at the end, towards the end of the film, where Michael is standing in a doorway, and it's very dimly lit, and he kind of backs away, and as his face falls into shadow, you could just see the light catching his eyes, and it looks absolutely brilliant.
Well, interestingly as well, Jason Patric, there was a deal in the film where Joel Schumacher, he took the film on, he agreed to do the part. Whether this is true, this is what I've read out there, because he was told he would never have to wear any prosthetics. He was told he wouldn't have to dress up, wear any prosthetics, go for any of that crap that the other vampires go for. And then Joel Schumacher hit him with, sorry, mate, we need you. And apparently they fell out on set for a good while about this. He's like, look, the movie needs it. You need to transform into a vampire. Michael needs to fight David. You know, in the scene where they're flying back and forth and stab eventually, which I think's a little bit. I kind of think he defeated David quite easily there with
he that. Did, yeah. It's not a long fight, is it? But
it's not a long fight, but one of the scenes I like, and Joel Schumacher said to Kiefer Sutherland, when you die, can you shave your beard off? Because it literally makes you look so much younger. And I love the fact they did that when David dies, to make it look like he returned to being younger and more innocent. Yeah. I think that was a really good choice. And I think another thing I really wanted to discuss on this was the bridge scene. I think the bridge scene is, I mean, the term iconic is thrown around a lot these days, but I do think that scene is a great scene in the movie. And the location of that bridge it's the Iron Horse Trailhead Trestle Bridge in Santa Clarita, California. And it's over, and basically that bridge is not very high at all. Yeah. So when they filmed that scene, they were hanging there, and they had like a smoke machine or a fog machine, whatever you want to call it. But they did have to build a soundstage version of it so they could sort of film the drop. And apparently the guys who were doing that then dropped onto cardboard boxes. I love that. And I do think, although it's not a visual effect, something else, but crashing through things, I know there's other bits we want to talk about. I think it's important to mention Santa Carla, which isn't a thing, but Santa Carla, the fact that it is, they changed they changed the name for the film from Santa Cruz, I believe, and the reason for that, and I've got a fact here, and I want to bring this in. So officials from Santa Cruz only gave permission for them to film in the area and do this because they on the basis that they changed the name. And the reason for that, and I'm going to just read this paragraph because it's easier than me trying to garble it out. In early 1970, Santa Cruz was dubbed the murder capital of the world, which we see in this film on the back of the sign, right? After serial killers Edmund Kemper, Herbert Mullen, and John Linley Fraser committed a string of murders there. When The Lost Boys filmed in Santa Cruz in 87, officials asked the filmmakers to rename the town to Santa Carla to avoid reviving the dark reputation. And I think it's interesting in the film, if you look very closely at some of the number plates on the cars, you can still see Santa Cruz on them as opposed to Santa Carla. So I really wanted to get those bits out there because I think they're really important things to the film. And they're not really important to the background of the film, should I say. So
actually, just quickly going back to when you were talking about the bridge scene, I think the fact that they had to disguise the fact that there wasn't a big drop, the fact that they disguised it with that really thick fog, I think that works really, really well. I mean, not only is it I guess in some ways a bit more frightening to have the thought of dropping into fog and not knowing how far the drop is and what you're going to land on, but it also just looks really cool, and especially the shot of David as he does it, and he sort of does that thing with his arms as he falls down into it. It just looks really, really good. So yeah, I like that scene.
I have to say, you have kick-started a little bit of a thing here. You've got VTR saying, I know it's nighttime now, but has anyone noticed the curtains by Monkeyboy are never open proof? Jojo saying that does explain why he's so pale. Has anyone seen him in the daylight?
Wow.
Yeah, and Jack's Bogus Journey. Hello, welcome to the chat. I still believe with a sax emoji. So there we go. Nice little nod to Tim Capello there. And yeah. What's Vic saying here? I've been on that pier where they filmed the carousel scene 2014 on my honeymoon. Now that's very cool.
Oh,
someone else did say, and I'm looking for it now, that they'd been on the bridge, but the comment has jumped past me. I'm so sorry to that. Oh, it was Jack's Bogus Journey. I was on that bridge, which there's a video on YouTube showing you, and it's with the guy who played Bill, Ted, even that where they were touring around the bits from The Lost Boys. So it's a very interesting video, well worth a watch. And Jack is just saying here, Santa Cruz suffered an earthquake, as said by David. After the fact, most of the locations were destroyed, and that will lead into something we may get to in a bit. And Pub Racing perhaps saying, why didn't they just name it Santa Claus? The Lost Boys could have been a Christmas movie. Well, there you go. There you go. Why didn't they? Now, there's a few more bits I will go into. I certainly want to discuss sequels and bits, just a spoiler. But what bits did you want to discuss? Because we've got a bit more time left, Monkeyboy, and you've got 2 pages of notes. So
I have. I mean, like I said, it goes from the beginning of the film to sort of the end. But it was just things that occurred to me at the time. So I'm quite happy to sort of smash through this quite quickly. And if there's anything, if any of it connects with something you want to talk about, you can stop me and we can expand on them if you like.
Smash through it, sir.
Okay, cool. So forgive me, I'm looking down at my notes the whole time. My memory is awful, so I won't remember these things otherwise. The film starts with the cast being shown on screen in alphabetical order, meaning that Corey Feldman actually gets the first credit in the film. I mean, it's not that interesting, but it's not interesting. So yeah, he gets the first screen credit. Then we have the opening sequence. There's a bit of a montage showing us various I guess inhabitants, if you will, of Santa Carla. And I suppose because the song "People Are Strangers" playing during the time, they just wanted to perhaps demonstrate the variety of characters and people that were living in the area. They showed a lot of people looking peculiar or having um, different kinds of clothing, and I guess they wanted to emphasize that there were subcultures about and this sort of thing.
It's
I
very punk rock. I mean, and given that the Lost Boys themselves are bikers,
Yeah,
it's meant that darker that subculture. It's very much shown the
yeah,
subculture, that alternative culture, isn't it?
yeah, and I think in a way, perhaps what either the script writer or the director was trying to get across is that vampires could probably quite easily fit into this environment, and they wouldn't necessarily stand out so much. Because of all the different types of people we saw in the intro. Um, Most notably, the young sort of punk teenager holding a rat and licking it in the face. So we see a rat being
Yeah,
licked in the face.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah, bit weird that. There's a strange mannequin on a chairlift. There's a scene where there's a kind of a ski lift or a
Yeah, it
chairlift
looks like
kind
one
of
of
thing,
those
and there's a
ones you could hug on and have a picture opportunity with, doesn't it?
is that what it's for?
I believe so, yeah.
I've seen that. I mean, I've seen this film a number of times, but this I was never sure if that was a person dressed up or an actual mannequin, and I
No,
couldn't work it out. But
I think the idea of that would be to sit with it, put your arm around it, and have a picture opportunity. That's
yeah,
my
yeah, that
take on
makes
it
sense.
anyway.
That didn't occur to me, but I mean, I watched it on Blu-ray yesterday, which is the first time I've seen it in that definition, and I paused it to see if I could see any sort of seams or anything. I just couldn't. I didn't know whether we were supposed to think, yeah, people in Santa Carla are so weird. They go about dressed in these strange. What? Oh, do they? Clock's going back today.
Yeah, so Palps has just said, don't forget the clocks go back. So if you're in the UK, yes, the clocks do go back to depressing dark at bloody
Thanks, man.
4:45
I didn't realise that.
from tomorrow.
Cheers,
So
Palps.
yes.
So anyway, yeah, and I wasn't sure if that was a guy. I didn't know if we were supposed to think that the people there were so weird that they go around dressed as a rubber guy, or if. So yeah, but anyway, so yeah, it makes sense what you said about the photo op thing. We see a shot, weirdly, of a whale, a long whale sticking out of a wall, and that whale has what appears to be a whale on its face. So there we go.
Face, yeah.
A whale with
Yeah.
a whale on its face. Anyway, skipping forward quite a bit, my next thought was about the Frog Brothers, and I couldn't quite work out how they managed to be running a comic book store. They say it's their cover, but who financed that? Like, I
I
don't.
took it that they were just staff there. I've never thought they owned the shop. That was my take on that. I could be
No,
wrong.
I got the idea that they were. I don't know. You could be right, but we never see anyone else in charge, and they act like I don't know. They seem to act like it's their shop. I could be wrong, but there's I and they. I mean,
Rich
I
parents,
suppose yeah,
maybe.
they could be staff there, but it just seems strange. So okay, yeah, I'm probably being silly about that.
No, you're fine.
I thought it was strange that they gave Sam they give him they first give him a comic and he says he's not interested, but he takes it anyway. And then a bit later on, they hand him another vampire comic with their phone number written in it. And I was just sort of wondering to myself, how is it that Sam gets to have their number? Like, if they've lived in Santa Carla, presumably they weren't fighting vampires when they were, small children. But let's say for the previous 3 or 4 years they've been fighting vampires. Who else have they given that number to?
I don't know.
I just thought it was strange that they singled out Sam to go, hey, you be careful, they didn't outright say, "Oh, by the way, there's vampires in this town. Take, here's our number in case you need us." They were a bit. They were. I don't think they needed to have been that subtle. Either you're going to tell him or you're not.
Yeah, well, I'm going to jump in with a couple of things there onto your notes you've made. So one thing is that comic book shop, just to add to it, because I've got it in my notes, was a real comic book shop, and they still have the original copy of that Vampires comic.
Wicked.
You can buy reproductions of it now, but they have the original copy, and you can go in there as a fan of the movie, and they will allow you to have a photo opportunity with it.
Oh, brilliant.
And the other thing has just completely skipped my head. So carry on, dude. I will I will throw it back out there in a moment when you get to
it. Were you going to say about how he picked up the comic, how he really badly handled that comic?
Well, he does badly handle the comic, but okay. So something else I could say here, though, is you saying about have they been fighting vampires for years? I mean, if you go to the last line of the film from Grandpa, what is it? One thing living in Santa Carla I could never quite stand was all the damn vampires. So it makes you wonder, are the town actually quite aware of the vampire thing? I mean, I could pull loads of faults from the vampire thing. I mean, look, clever scenes like when you see the wife of the security guard pinning up the poster after he manages to miraculously hang on to that door after they pull him up in the air, kicks him off the carousel ride. And other things you can miss in the film, like Laddie, the little boy in the movie who's with Star. I mean, the little child on the milk carton in the kitchen, that is Laddie. So do the other people of Santa Carla aware of vampires? Is it like an unspoken thing? Why do the church not react to them running into the church to get holy water? Is it because they're like, oh, it's more people dealing with more vampires, or are they just got a very sort of cavalier, blasé attitude to kids running into the church and stealing holy water for perhaps their own unorthodox baptisms? I don't know.
I mean, it really doesn't. It doesn't make. The more you think about it, the more it doesn't actually make sense. That either like you said, it was an unspoken thing and they all kind of knew there were vampires about, but nobody wanted to acknowledge it, which I guess could be the case. But if they didn't all know about it, why are Edgar and Alan Frog and Grandpa, why aren't they telling everyone and providing some sort of evidence? And why, like I said, why is Sam getting their phone number? Are they giving their phone number to all sorts of random people, or I don't know. I just found that weird, but we'll have to move past that because I was going around in circles thinking about that.
Okay, carry on, mate. Carry on.
The next thing that occurred to me is that the scene where Michael is following Star, and then it turns out that she hops on the back of David's motorbike. And then David says to him, "Oh, do you know where such and such a place is overlooking the point or wherever?" And then Michael says, "Oh, I can't beat your bike." And then David says, "You don't have to beat me. You just have to keep up." And I just thought, I mean, obviously it's I guess it's implied that Michael could make friends with them if he's able to keep up with them, but it wasn't sort of explicitly said. And I just wonder why Michael didn't reply with, "Hold on, why are we doing this again?" Like,
yeah, but then you could say, what was David's intention to get Michael to drive off of the cliff, and the fact he didn't, and he had the sort of balls to get up and punch him in the face and give it the whole just you thing, which isn't going to happen if you attack a leader of a gang like that, Is that why he suddenly decided that he wanted Michael? I mean, but there's loads of stuff in the film that doesn't make sense, dude. Like when Star literally goes up to Michael and goes, "You don't have to," when he's got the bottle of blood, which is presumably David's blood, and he's like drinking it, like, yeah. It's like, she says it's blood. She tells you it's blood. You don't listen that it's blood, and you're drinking it, and you've got a look on your face like you've just had a sup of the nicest. Like,
although to be fair, it does look like Ribena. So
it does look like Ribena,
and it's very watery. It's very watery.
It's like where they say, "Oh, you know, when the Frog Brothers are like, oh, they'll be in their coffins when the vampire's hanging upside down, and they point at that underground hotel that fell down in the earthquake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one big coffin, you know, and then you've got the Jim Morrison in there, which we said about earlier. There's lots in the film which is,
Well,
if
yeah.
you
I mean,
really want to go at it.
that bit. Even when I watched that the first time, I mean, I didn't know who Jim Morrison was. So when I first saw that scene, and probably the next couple of times I saw the film, I was thinking, why have they got a massive portrait of Michael hanging in the hotel already? Like how is
I
that?
believe.
Why is he there? I didn't realise it was Jim Morrison.
Well, I
I
believe
actually
one of the
thought that was.
reasons they cast him was because he had the look of Jim Morrison about him. I mean, another guy who auditioned for the role apparently was Ben Stiller, and apparently Jim Carrey auditioned for a role in the film. What role, I don't know, but
Oh, well, anyway,
yeah,
that big portrait of Jim Morrison really threw me off, because I thought it was a portrait of the Michael character, and I couldn't work out why it was there, or what the implication of it was. But
well, then
anyway,
Jim
go
Morrison
on.
was, I mean, the film production. I mean, Joel Schumacher. Jim Morrison always had a rather morbid curiosity of death. He died quite young, as we know, and Joel Schumacher. The reason for the Jim Morrison in that underground cave hotel thing is because he had it there as the vampires would almost idolize. It's for us to see that they idolize Jim Morrison. He's an idol of theirs. So does that raise the question that because of the sort of similar looks of Michael to Jim Morrison, is that why David's drawn to Michael? Because even in the end scene when they're fighting and they've killed a load of vampires, and you've got the weird plumbing which fires blood everywhere, which is not how plumbing works, and Jojo will vouch for that, being a plumber. You know, he's still like, I don't want to kill you, Michael. I want you to be one of us, even though he knows people have died. So, and I've now just remembered the thing I was going to say earlier. The Frog Brothers in that comment, when they say how the vampires die, some go quietly, some explode, some implode, some whatever. Every one of the vampires in the end scene dies, and some go quietly, die in a way that the Frog Brothers, every vampire death is one of the ways that the Frog Brothers mention how they die in the movie as well.
Yeah, I suppose it is. Yeah, because David
Like
dies
death
quietly,
by
doesn't he?
stereo, you know.
Yeah,
David does die
although
quietly, and
no, because
Max
he mentioned
explodes, and
some implode, and I didn't see anyone imploding.
yeah, I mean, I always took that as the guy in the bath because he sort of went in and everything exploded outward. But yeah, Max sort of explodes. David goes quietly. You've got death by stereo. He also explodes. But he's also screaming really loud as he dies. So some screams. I think some of it's open to interpretation, but many people this isn't just something I've come to. This is something a lot of people have pointed out online as well, in documentaries and whatnot. So,
Although Edgar Frog also says at the end of that scene, because it's when it's weird because he's explaining it to the other characters, but the Jameson Newlander character is right next to him, and he looks at him a couple of times, and I think, why are you? It looks like he's explaining it to him, and I thought, well, he obviously he's going to know. You don't need to explain it to him.
Talking about people explaining stuff here, and I'm bringing this up just because it amuses me, although it's not to do with the film per se. Rob H saying plumbing is just gravity and water. I think he's trying to get a reaction out of someone else in the chat here, but we'll leave that one there.
But at the end of that scene, Edgar Frog says, you know, it's not a pretty sight. Some do this, some do that, but they will all try to take you with them. And I thought, well, no, none of them did. None of them tried to. Nope.
So what other bits have you got to do? Because we've probably got about 7 minutes left, and I just want to briefly touch on the sequels of the movie as well before we wrap this up.
Right, hang on. So, Oh yeah, the scene that really the only bit that made me jump out the whole film when I first saw it was the scene where Sam's in bed and his mum comes to talk to him and tell him to turn the lights out, and he says to her, oh, you know, can you close the closet? And she sort of sits on the bed and she said, oh yeah, your father never believed in the closet monster. And then she sort of grins at him. And exactly at that moment, Grandpa's in the doorway and goes, and I thought it was her making that noise. And that really made me jump because I guess I thought for some reason that she was a vampire or something, that really unsettled me that moment. And I assumed that was done kind of deliberately. They thought, oh, it'd be good. I don't know. It just sounded like that laugh was coming from her. And yeah, that made me jump when I first saw it. Bit I can get. I'll skip over these. There's a line where Sam says to Michael, "Are you what? Have you been watching too much Dynasty, bud?" And for the longest time, up until yesterday, when I had the subtitles on, I thought he said, "Have you been watching too much Dynasty?" But I always thought the line was Dynasty, but. I'll skip over that one. I've just made a note. The tree scene is the first time we see the vampires transform. The first time we see the fangs, and that's just over an hour into the film. So we don't actually see anyone vamping out until that point.
No.
We've got the scene where they all go into the underground hotel to stake the vampires. And from beginning to end in that scene, everyone is shouting. They're all shouting.
Mm-hmm.
Presumably, vampires are deaf when they sleep or something. I don't know. And also, what made me what I thought would have been cool. This didn't happen in the film, but it made me laugh when it occurred to me. Is that obviously the vampires have got those different feet. Their feet are different
Yeah, they've got sort of
shape so
like
that they can hang on the things. And it kind of made me think of the scene in Withnell and I where Marwood says, "Oh, my thumbs have gone all weird," and I just thought it would have been really good to have had a scene where Michael kind of woke up or whatever, Sam goes into his bedroom or whatever to see him and open the curtains and whatnot, and Michael sort of gets out of bed and, and sort of says, "Oh, my feet have gone all weird." I thought that would have been really good, and I wish that had happened. There's a bit at when they escape from the cave after stabbing Alex Winter to bits, where Alan Frog says, "Oh, we don't ride with vampires." And I thought, well, Star isn't technically a vampire yet. She's in the same vampiric state that Michael was, and you drove there with him. So don't know what the problem is. And then as they leave, Sam shouts, "Burn rubber!" And Edgar Frog's got it in reverse, and they reverse and obviously narrowly avoid reversing off the cliff. And then Sam says, "Burn rubber does not mean warp speed." And I just think that's a really weak line and doesn't really fit what happened. I think it would have been much better if he'd have said, "Excellent, now burn rubber forwards." That would have been more amusing. I just don't. Yeah, that didn't work for me. That bit. I think that was a gag that didn't quite land. The battle montage I like. I think that's a good scene when they're preparing
Mm-hmm.
for stuff. It somehow reminds me of the scene in Commando where Schwarzenegger's putting all his war paint on for some reason. They go into the church and there are two fonts in the church which they fill up, which is quite unusual. It's not unheard of for churches to have two fonts, but it's not the most normal thing. And an interesting fact that I kind of discovered today, which is that if a font in a church is no longer needed or the church becomes a ruin and the font remains, traditionally fonts must not be destroyed. So it's most commonly removed and buried in consecrated ground,
Mm.
which is a thing. Um,
Right.
as part of that montage, we get Sam crushing the garlic, which
I'm
has the
gonna have to,
biggest
dude.
net.
I've just messaged you. I'm gonna have to leave you for a minute to talk because nature is calling, and
Oh, okay. Go on then.
I
Go on then.
desperately need to go
Okay,
for a
do
pee,
that.
put it bluntly. So run the show for 2 minutes, mate.
All right, cool. Shall I get my knob out? No. So yes, the biggest net of garlic ever recorded on film. I think that it's a huge amount of garlic. I don't know where they got that, but it's mental. And I think legend has it that that garlic is still being used today. It's still not finished. But what else do we have here? Oh yeah. There's a scene when they get back to the house and they put all the garlic and the holy water into the bath, and then they fill up their water pistols with them. My first thought was that they are all Uzi water pistols. The Frog Brothers have black plastic Uzi pistols, and Sam has a transparent green one. And I was thinking that the Uzi submachine gun was probably the most popular submachine gun in the 80s. It was everywhere. You couldn't move without a film full of Uzis in the 80s. And anyway, they fill up their water pistols with the garlicky holy water from the bath, and then Alan Frog tests the water pistol. He holds it up and looks through the sights and fires the water pistol. And
Right, sorry
if you
about
see
that.
that film,
I am back.
hello. And yeah, you'll notice when he fires his water pistol that the stream of water coming out of it is completely on the piss. So he's holding it up, presumably to test its accuracy, and then he fires it and it goes all up in the air. So that's ridiculous. What else did I get? Oh yeah, I've got the bit about them imploding or not imploding, but doing all the other things.
So just to ask, dude, not to cut you off on your notes, because I'm running. One of the reasons I got to wrap this up soon is because I'm running out of time on StreamYard because I haven't deleted previous shows.
Well, I'm pretty much done.
No,
I don't
want to cut you off, but I'd have to come out of the studio and delete it because I'm waiting for a hard drive to come to back up all my previous
stop wasting
shows.
time explaining it then. And my last bit was the vampire flying out of the fireplace, which I thought was quite cool, and that was it really. And then I'm done,
man. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're right, man. You're right, man. I realised that StreamYard will be a dick.
Yeah, well, I've got about 10 minutes left before, because I come on. Well, you've got just over 2 hours left. You'll be fine, because I don't want to delete previous shows until I've backed them up. Otherwise, I've lost them. Because if YouTube shuts my channel down, I lose my stuff. Which is always annoying.
We've been going just over 2. Is that all right?
Yeah, we're still good because I think it's about 2:15, so we're good. But yeah,
all right,
just to say, the Lost Boys, right? So I did mention it, so I'm gonna have to bring it up. There are sequels to this. There is apparently a remake in the works. How that's going to be, I do not know. The CW in 2016 wanted to do a TV series based on this, sort of to expand the lore. I haven't seen either of these, but there is a film called Lost Boys: The Tribe in 2008. It's got Corey Feldman in it, other actors. I can't say it's crap because I haven't seen it, but absolutely everyone else on the internet said it is shit. Don't bother with it.
No, I've not seen it.
It's very much gone down the route of Twilight. And Lost Boys, the first in 2010, Corey Feldman and Jameson Newlander came back as the Frog Brothers reunite. These were both direct to DVD. Everyone has said they're crap. They're crap. I believe Minty from Minty Comedic Arts said neither of them shit on the legacy of the Lost Boys. Can a sequel ever shit on an original film? I don't know. However, they are not highly regarded at all. They are just not. So yeah, there we go. It will be interesting to see what the remake of the Lost Boys will bring. Will it be brung into modern day? Will it be back into the 80s? Stranger Things has proved we can go back into the 80s and have a very convincing 80s feel, I believe. I just do not know what it's going to be. There's been a lot of people campaigning for the guy who played Max's brother in Stranger Things, Billy, to play the Michael character because they have sort of strikingly similar looks, whether that's just what the fandom want or whether that's something the studio
Oh,
will
you mean?
consider.
Oh, okay. Oh, that guy with
The sort of mullet. Yeah.
uh-huh.
The guy, yeah, he wasn't. So whether he will be, whether there's any truth to that, I do not know. Yeah, so that's we could talk for another hour on the failure of the sequels. I don't think it's required for this. All in all, I think that Lost Boys is an epic movie. I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. I've said everything I feel I need to say on this. We could go on for another hour. We haven't got time, unfortunately. But you've gone through your notes. So Monkeyboy, I think we've got to the end of this. I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank the chat for being awesome this evening. Whereabouts?
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Find you? I'm going to just bring this up from Ben, though. Quick question. Should I feel bad for not enjoying it when I could have watched it back then? What do you think your kids would think, Nick Action Podcast, if they've seen it? I think Jax is too young, and I don't think you should feel bad, Ben. I mean, it's...
No. I
don't think you should feel bad at all.
I mean, it's 2025. I mean, although it hasn't aged poorly, it is kind of its time. And yeah, I think we sort of said this earlier. I mean, I was lucky that I saw it at a young age, and at the time, I think if I'd have been a bit older or a few years older, or I hadn't seen it for a number of years, I'm not sure if it would have had quite the same impact. I mean, it was a certificate 15 when it came out here, and actually, I mean, it wouldn't even. It'd probably be a PG now, probably, as today's things have gone. But I think I'd say sort of 11, 12 is a good age to see that. There's nothing outrageous in it.
I have said to my son, I said he could watch it. He doesn't want to watch it because he thinks it's scary. But I said, dude, you watched Gremlins, which is still a 15 rated film. You loved it. I don't think there's anything bad in Gremlins. So I think it's you have to judge it on each individual kid. But yeah. Sorry to close this off. Monkeyboy, promote yourself, my man. Promote yourself.
I've I've got a Monkeyboys toys video coming up towards Halloween. It won't be tomorrow because it's going to be a long one, and I've got a lot of editing to do, but it's going to be quite unpleasant again. So that will be sometime between now and Halloween. Skeletor is still drunk from the last episode, so he's out of action. So that's about it, really. I would also encourage you kindly, if you haven't done so already, is to head over to either SkeleTalk or Monkeyboys Toys and check out my description or the channel description, and head over to my third channel, WHiMSYFiZZ, if you've not checked that out, and have a look at Batman selling ice cream.
Which is definitely fun. Dude, you've been an excellent guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Sorry I had to run off. Sorry to you and sorry to the chat. I had to run off and deal with what nature made me deal with, but that's one of those things. It was that I was going to be putting the dehumidifier in my room to dry the carpet out. So that's one of those things. Guys, I haven't got a date for the next show in, but it will drop soon. I'm just ironing out some things. I've stuff going on in life recently, which has delayed shows. So apologies for not getting more done, but we're on the right side of it now. Thank you as ever for your support, everyone.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. Appreciate it.
Thank you everyone in the chat. And I just want to say, we will see you on the next one. So guys, thank you. Thank you, Monkeyboy. Let's do the awkward wave and let's get out of here. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.